Good evening, everybody. Welcome back, and thank you for joining me once again. We are here with more CALLOUS Draft League action. This is round 4, or week 4 rather, and we've switched over to a heavy focus on the team draft format. And I gotta be honest with you, I like both formats. After all, I'm the one who pioneered them, so obviously I like them, but I think that this one is my favorite. I really do enjoy these team drafts. I think both formats are skill intensive, but this one for me just really hits the spot. I'm a big fan, and I hope you guys have been enjoying it too. If so, let me ask you real quick to just preemptively hit that like button. Does wonders for me with my self-esteem and with the algorithm and all that good stuff. I would appreciate it. So, as you guys know, I try to cover one set from each team per round. But for this pairing, which is the green team on the right and the purple team on the left, this was the no-brainer draft that I was always going to cover. Because, look at the records in this draft. These are very successful players in this tournament. The whole team for purple on the left, and they are going to be our team one for purposes of this draft. Those guys are all having a positive tournament, including Manchild with his 3-0 record, risking it against another 3-0 player in 48 on the other side, but really solid purple team there on the left. On the right, two 3-0 players, and then Damflame. Again, really, really good. A combined 7 wins per squad here out of a possible 9. It's serious here. As far as the standings, I don't want to spend too much time. I do want to get into the action, but the gist of it right now coming into week 4 is that green team is definitely in first, red team is definitely in last, and the other 4 teams are all kind of jumbled in the middle and very much in the playoff hunt. If you want to see the exact standings and follow this tournament even more closely, the best way to do that is by joining my Discord server. Link in the description if you want to check that out. But without further ado, I am very excited for this draft given the quality of the players, the records, the specific pairings. I'm pumped. So let's get into the action. Like I said, the team on the left is the purple team, and they have ended up with the first pick in this draft, the first 2 picks. In fact, they are kicking off, as we say, whereas the green team on the right is receiving. And we have what seems to be in the very early stages of this format's existence. This seems to be the early consensus metagame. Most teams, not everybody, has done the T-Tar meta opening pick in one order or another. Unclear yet whether I personally agree with that or think that it's optimal or not, but it can't be bad. You can't go too far wrong with these picks. They're just really powerful mons that are not super easy to counter. Maybe Tar a little bit easier to deal with than Metagross, but even then, there's just so many damn sets that Tar could have. It's very difficult to cover everything. I can't imagine you can go too far wrong with these picks. The real question, and there has not been the same consistency with this part, is how do you respond to it? There's a couple different ways that you can go here. I've seen teams go double or even triple bulky water in response to this. I've seen people put Zapdos against the Metagross and then water and/or fighter against the Tar. There's an argument to take like immediate Hariyama or something here against the Tar. You could take the Lax into Manchild, knowing that Lax is not going to be good into T-Tar or Meta. There's a lot of options here. So the response from the green team, and who knows what they're doing in their team chat or what's going on behind the scenes, but unlike the last green team draft that I covered, where it was basically just Zakaru drafting for all 3 members of the team, I believe these guys are actually doing it cooperatively and individually, at least to some degree. So anyhow, their response here is going to be Skarmory for 48 into we don't know yet, and then it's going to be Salamence and Swampert, respectively. So, keeping in mind real quick how the pairings work. So, left against left, middle against middle, right against right. So, Manchild doesn't have anything, is going to be against the Skarm. And then they opted to place the Salamence against the T-Tar and the Swampert against the Metagross. I'm not opposed to these picks. The Mence into the tower is interesting because obviously they both threaten each other. The Mence can have anything from just Rock Slide, of course, to... Or I said the Mence. That learns Rock Slide too. I meant the T-Tar. The T-Tar can have anything from Rock Slide to Ice Beam to T-Wave, various things that threaten the Salamence. But on the flip side, there's Earthquake, Brick Break, the ability to self-boost with Dragon Dance, +1 Brick Break is always going to kill the tower, and so on and so forth. So, interesting, they might be matching offense with offense in this middle matchup, but it's too early to say. The question now is, what does 3-0 Manchild do, given what's already been taken, and knowing that he's playing against a Skarmory? And I'm just going to go ahead and say that I don't particularly like the way that he responds here. But why don't we first reveal the picks before we talk about it? He has the double pick, and he's going to go with Celebi and Snorlax. Now, on paper, if you ignore everything else that's happened, which you can't in this format, but bear with me, then this is fine. These are just two generically powerful Mons, and the Celebi is one of the better Lax counters, so you're taking them on and one of its best counters in the same swoop. That makes sense. It's two special walls. Snorlax more or less resists things like fire or ice that Celebi's weak to. All that. Same thing. Celebi resists fighting. In theory, this makes sense. This is why I don't like it. There's two reasons. One, I don't think either of these Pokemon are good against Skarmory. You can tinker with the Celebi, make it CM, HP Fire, or whatever. You could try to pick up a Magneton later. It's too early. It's not hopeless, but just 1v1 generically, I don't think either one is good against Skarm. Picking Lax into Skarm, even more so than the Celebi, Lax into Skarm is a real head-scratcher to me, so I don't think I like that out the gate. And then the other reason I don't like it is just flat out, I don't know that Lax is that good in this format. I've seen already multiple times people take Lax in the very first round somewhere of picks, whether it's an individual pick, first overall, or the double pick in this case, which is basically the first round of picks. And sometimes it doesn't even get broad. It isn't just that one video that happened in round 2. It's happened a couple times already. It's just so easy to counter. What always ends up happening is 48 is going to end up with this team with like Leech Seeder, Weezing, Armaldo, Sableye, the whole shebang, and it just makes Lax so garbage. Now, like, is there an argument to be made? Is there a strategy where, like, you take Lax and then your opponent drafts all that mediocre crap like Armaldo and Sableye, and then you just don't bring the Lax and they're stuck with that trash? Like, sure, in theory, that could be a strategy, but boy, is it risky to dump your first pick just to hope that they draft garbage and you can beat said garbage. I don't like the approach. So, two arguments, like I said. I don't think these are good into Skarm, and also I think that Lax just isn't that good in this format. I think it's like much closer to like a third or fourth round pick, honestly, truly, because I think it's really, really easy to counter in this format. So as an alternative, what would I have done instead? Honestly, I probably wouldn't have taken either of these things. If you think that Celebi is too good to pass back, and you have to take it here, sure, then I would go Celebi plus Starmie. That would be my answer. The first thing that came to my mind into the Skarmory is to go Zapdos plus Starmie. That's probably what I would have taken here. But if you feel absolutely convinced that you cannot pass Celebi back, you must take it, then Celebi Starmie would be my pick. I don't think Lax is good into Skarmory, and I don't think Lax is that good in the format. This is too early of a Lax pick. It's a trap, in my opinion. So, we move to the right to get here, so we swing it back to the left. It is the triple pick here for the guys on the right, which is the green team. So, in addition to what they've already taken, they're now going to add as follows. They will go Fortress, Milotic, and Gengar. Okay. For a Swampert, this is, again, into Metagross. I already like the synergy here because Metagross can only have one of HP Fire or HP Grass. It can't have both, so if you go with Grass to target Pert, great, then the Fory's safe, and vice versa. If you go with Fire to target the Fory, then other than Boom, the Swampert is safe. So good synergy there to kind of divide and conquer on the hidden powers. And it's not just the Metagross. That's going to apply to a lot of stuff. So if you load up on 4X weaknesses, you kind of stretch your opponent thin because they can't have hidden power everything. They're going to have to pick and choose what they want to hit. And these two Pokemon organically, I think, have pretty good synergy with each other. Pert being a Pokemon that forces switches and learns Roar, blah, blah, blah. Obviously benefits from spikes. Likewise, Milotic, cool with that pick. If the tower goes with some kind of special set, the Milotic should handle it. Physical set is obviously still going to have to be addressed, but Mence has a little bit more play against that. And also, Milotic being a Salamence counter is going to prevent the opponent from getting that. You're just taking it off the table. The Gengar, I think, has good synergy with the Skarm and is pretty good against what's on the other side. Yeah, Lax can obviously go Shadow Ball and what have you, but still, just the threat of Will-O-Wisp or potentially coming in and blanking normal attacks, totally fine. Picking up Gar there. To me, all three of these picks make plenty of sense. And then finally, wrapping up the round, Kingu here is going to grab Zapdos, and then it's going to be Blissey for Vaz, which is a wildly good start that Blissey somehow makes it back to him after he first picks T-Tar. Can't go too far wrong with that. And Blissey, I think if you go bold with Ice Beam, is going to be additional protection against the Salamence. So whatever, right? S-Toss, Ice Beam, Soft-Boiled X, maybe X is T-Wave, even better. Maybe X is Thunderbolts, you hit the Milo as well. There's options, but it certainly makes sense against what is on the other side. So, if you guys recall, with this format, we now do a little jump over here for the next round to the 2B player, and then we work our way to the left. So the double pick here, Damflame and then 48 respectively, they are going to go like this. Harry Mama, and then Moltres. Yeah, I mean, Hariyama, already a good pick into T-Tar, and then he just added Blissey, so obviously you want to target that fighting weakness. This pick is super duper logical as far as I'm concerned. Probably the perfect pick. Probably exactly what I would have taken there, so I'm on board with the Yama. And the Moltres makes sense as well. Skarm, Gengar, Moltres, I mean, it looks like the core of an OU team. They all have synergy. It totally makes sense together, but not only is the Moltres obviously good against the Celebi, but you've just added a second Will-O-Wisp user, so, like, this is what I'm talking about. This is without even getting into the specialized picks, the random Leech Seeder, the Weezing, the Armaldo, the Sableye, whatever. I already don't want to bring the Lax in this matchup. I already don't want to bring the Lax into the Skarmory, the Gengar, the Moltres. I'm telling you, Lax just isn't that good in this format, but I think it's going to take people time, given how good it is in the other format, to really truly understand how unremarkable the Mon is in this particular style of play. So now the triple pick on the left for the green team. Team captain Kingu here is going to have first dibs, and he's going to grab Starmie for himself, followed by Aerodactyl and Raikou. So the Starmie is into the Fortress, which is not generally... I mean, you need a spinner, obviously, and it's the best spinner. I don't mean like specifically at spinning. I mean of the Pokemon that learns Rapid Spin, it is the overall best Pokemon. So, like, there's that. But unless you're HP Fire Starmie, which is janky as all hell, you lose pretty hard 1v1 to the Fory. So, like, meh. I mean, if you feel like you need a spinner, yeah, I guess you just take the best one. I mean, you don't want to pass Starmie back here. It's certainly arguable that Manchild should have been the one to grab the Starmie here. I mean, doesn't Starmie make sense? Like, if you go T-Wave Star, for example, isn't that good against all of Skarmory, Gengar, Moltres? Like, don't you sit on the Skarm, threaten T-Wave, spin? Don't you kick the crap out of Moltres? Don't you threaten T-Wave against Gengar? You could also go, like, Surf Psychic, which hits all of this. So you could go a Thunderbolt Psychic, which hits all of this. I kind of feel like the same way that I thought Manchild already should have taken Starmie before, I kind of feel like they should have distributed this differently and given the Starmie to Manchild. The Starmie is good and it has good synergy with the Metagross and the Zapdos, but it's not all about drafting for yourself. And ultimately, I think Kingu probably could have taken a different spinner down the line and been fine. So I kind of think they distributed this incorrectly. I would have preferred to see Starmie in the A matchup against 48, where I think it would be very, very effective given what he's got already. So I'm going to go ahead and disagree with the way that they divided up these Mons. As far as the middle matchup, Aerodactyl, sure, obviously a threat against Hariyama, good against Mence under the right circumstances as well, fine against the Milotic. It's a good pick, and it gives you the double rock attacker. Always a good place to be. Vaz is off to a very strong start given his seat. This is a very strong 1-2-3. So what did Manchild actually take over the Starmie that I think he should have gotten? He got Raikou here, which is good, which is fine. I mean, Electric is obviously one of the ways that you want to be targeting the Skarm and the Moltres, and Raikou, generally speaking, wins the 1v1 with Gengar as well. So it isn't so much that I dislike the Raikou pick, because I don't. It's more that I think the Starmie pick was really, really good in the matchup. But I do like the Raikou, all things considered. So we'll see where it goes. It's going to float over to Pimmel now, and he's going to have the double pick before we do the old switcheroony and pass it back. So with said double pick, he's going to go with, this is interesting, going to go with Jolteon and Venusaur, which is not in my mind what I was envisioning would happen here, but the Jolteon definitely makes sense, especially now with the addition of the Starmie. So Jolteon already reasonable against Zapdos, and then obviously against Starmie it's good as well. Jolteon Fori is not normally a combo. They are very different speeds. Jolteon is almost always on offense. Fortress is almost always on defensive stally teams. So that's kind of, I don't want to say a non-bow, but like kind of weird with the play styles that they both prefer. I wonder if one of those will ultimately end up getting cut. We'll see. And the Venusaur against the Zapdos was already good, and then you're now adding it against the Starmie as well. So I'm okay with the Venusaur pick. I'm just surprised that certain very powerful Pokemon that are still floating out there, Regice comes to mind immediately, for example. Kind of surprised that that wasn't one of the Mons taken. I definitely like Regice. I mean, granted, you'd be taking Regice into Metagross, so like, that's not perfect, but it's definitely good against Zapdos and Starmie, and you probably need a proper special wall at some point. So that's what comes to my mind, but I can see why he wouldn't take it given the Metagross on the other side. Not that I really want to pass it back to the other team. For me, despite the presence of the Metagross on the other side, which does counter Regice, or at least check Regice, I do still think I would have taken Regice here in Pimmel's seat. The Jolteon pick I like. The Venusaur is fine, but if you want a grass, I feel like you could have grabbed somebody, whether it's Venusaur or otherwise, later. So maybe Jolteon Regice is closer to what I had in mind. But that's not what happened here, and I would not be surprised at all if Regice gets gobbled up on the way back. So we swing it back to another triple pick for Manchild, Vaz, and Kingu. And indeed, to the surprise of nobody, Regice does get grabbed here. They end up doing it like this. They end up going Claydol, Registeel, and what do you know? Regice. The Raikou's good, but man, I'm really not liking Manchild's end of this matchup. I mean, is the Claydol even, is it even good into this? Like, I guess Refresh Doll can sit on the Skarm, I guess, but like even then, just like you lose eventually, slowly to Drill Peck Skarm. I guess if Manchild is planning on adding like Magneton down the road, if he's building just like full on OU Magdoll, I guess there's a plan. He adds like Vaporeon and Magneton down the road, I guess, but I mean, I don't even know that Claydol's that great against Skarm, but it's certainly against Gengar Moltres. I don't know. I mean, you could have like Shadow Ball or Psychic or something for Gar, but like Ice Punch, Giga Drain, Will-O-Wisp, Hypnosis, same shit. Moltres gets you with HP, whatever, Grass, Ice, whatever the case may be. You get it back with Psychic. I mean, again, you can like give it Rock Slide or something, but I don't know. Claydol on paper doesn't excite me against this squad. Ugh. I'm skeptical. We'll see where he takes it, but on paper right now, I definitely prefer 48's end of that matchup, and that's the big matchup because these are the two undefeated players, and the way that this format works, this tournament rather, once a player has 3 wins or more in a row, they start getting bonus points for their team with each win. So these guys are already both on streaks, and one of them will lose that streak, whoever loses the match. So big point swing coming based on the result of this match. So more than any other in this particular draft, you really want to concentrate on winning the matchup of the A players, Manchild and 48 respectively. So going over to the other one here, Registeel. This might be a case of just not wanting to pass it back, but I don't know that I love this pick. It's like a special wall that I don't know that he needs. If he wanted a physical wall, could just take like Vaporeon or some kind of water here. And it also adds a third fighting weakness to a dude who's already got a Hariyama. A Hariyama that you currently don't switch into at all. The 3 fighting weaknesses don't switch in. And Aerodactyl's got to be careful. It's not like it loves Brick Breaks. It doesn't resist them. It takes them neutrally. It's not like he loves that move. Cross Chop would be even worse. Rock Slide would be even worse. And then even just like knockoff, Aerodactyl becomes Garbaggio if it loses its choice band. So I don't know. I think I would have rather seen him take something here to address the Hariyama. I think a great pick here for Vaz in this seat. I think I would have taken Weezing here, not only because I think it's pretty good against the Mence Milo Yama combo on the other side, it also gives him a second fighting, or I guess a first fighting resistance, because Aerodactyl doesn't count, on a team that already has 2 fighting weaknesses, and then you also would have helped out your Lax player by taking one of its absolute biggest and most consistent counters in Weezing off the table. So to me, I like Weezing there better than Registeel. I don't really love it into the Yama player. It's not even that good into DD Mence either. I was on board with Vaz's draft, and I still think it's good, obviously. I mean, you can't go too far wrong with Tower Bliss Arrow, but this is probably the first pick from Vaz's seat that I don't overly agree with. And then Kingu here is going to go for Reg Ice, which I could take or leave. I mean, every team is going to need a special wall, so Celebi and Lax, special walls over here. Blissey and kind of sort of Registeel, special walls over here. Doesn't leave a lot of options for Kingu. Regice probably the best one left, fine and well. Does it blow me away against Pimmel's team? No. Is it bad against Pimmel's team? Also no. It's just a good mon in general. If you don't want to pass it back and you need a special wall, could be as simple as that. I guess Regice will do the trick. And then finally, wrapping up this particular round, unsurprising pick here. This is what I was talking about earlier. Armaldo. And then Damflame is going to add Cloyster to the mix. Alright, well, starting with the Armaldo, no brainer, right? I mean, you've got the bug weakness in Celebi. Armaldo is a traditional Lax counter, and then you've got the bug weakness in Claydol as well. It just makes perfect sense into what's on the other side, and with every single new passing pick, I'm less and less excited about this stupid Snorlax. I don't even want to bring it. And man, if you just pretend that Snorlax isn't there, if we just say, okay, he's not going to bring it, if it's just Celebi, Raikou, Claydol against these mons, fuck that. 48 seems to be crushing it in my mind. Cloyster pick I do not like. No way, man. Against T-Tower Arrow, you're picking Cloyster into like the 2 premier rock attackers in the tier? No. I'm not into that. I mean, I understand that you want spikes, but I don't know about all that. It doesn't really seem great into any of this. Like, maybe Registeel, but you don't threaten Registeel at all. It just, like, T-Waves you and starts S-tossing, and you get a spike or two down, and that's it. Blissey can have T-Bolt, which it very well already may have been wanting to carry, and then the egregious thing, like I said, is, like, Cloyster into T-Tar Arrow. I think it's really going to struggle to find opportunities to do anything meaningful. I don't like the Cloyster pick. I really don't. So, moving over to the 1B player, we are now doing the exact same pattern that we did in the opening round of picks. So we're starting with Vaz again and moving to the right. He is going to do this. Alakazam and Charizard, respectively. Yeah, the Zam makes sense to me. It's definitely weird on this team that otherwise looks pretty stally, but I see no good Zam answer in sight for Damflame. So putting a pretty real threat out there, and I am curious to see how Damflame decides to answer. Charizard being picked into this matchup, I do like. Right now, HP Grass, Charizard, just standard, whatever, Flamethrower, HP Grass, Substitute Focus Punch, just as a hypothetical, is something that Pimmel has no switch into. The Fire is going to fry the Fori and Jolteon, even though it isn't weak to it. It certainly does not come in very well to Flamethrowers or Fire Blasts. And of course, the Venusaur is weak to the fire as well, and the Swampert would get cooked by the HP Grass. So Zard right now is something that Pimmel absolutely does not have the answer for, and is going to have to address that sooner rather than later. Here is the response from the green team. Medicham, did I mention this lax, gets worse and worse and worse with every pick. Additionally, Flygon and Scooby Doom. Yeah, already liked 48% of the matchup. Continue to like it. Medicham, super effective damage to Celebi, super effective damage to Lax, super effective damage to Claydol. Raikou, I guess, beats Medicham 1v1 if they start exactly even, but Raikou doesn't switch into Medicham. That's for damn sure. Right now, I'm not clear what switches into any of this stuff. What switches into Moltres here exactly? What switches into Medicham here exactly? This matchup feels like a stomp. We still have 4 picks for Manchild, so opinion subject to change, but this matchup seems like a beatdown as it sits right now in my eyes. The Flygon pick for Damflame, a necessary evil for sure, does not address the Alakazam issue, and that is gonna be an issue as it sits, but you are absolutely gonna need more than one rock resist staring down the T-Tar and the Aerodactyl, and in the case of the Flygon specifically, it also gives you stab EQ that the Registeel isn't gonna like. So I'm down with the Flygon pick, but he's gonna need more, and he's definitely gonna need an answer to the Alakazam. The Houndoom here, first pick that I don't really get it. I mean, yeah, there's Metagross Regice on the other side, but like, I don't know, it's not good against Zapdos or Starmie. Kinda, sorta Charizard, but like Charizard can run all sorts of things, Focus Punch, EQ, whatever. I don't actually think Houndoom beats Charizard, and it doesn't even outspeed it, so like, meh. And crucially, there's not really, I mean, Houndoom you usually take when you are trying to trap Gengar, trying to trap Dusclops. They've got, Celebi plus Misdreavus, something like that, but it just... What are you trying to trap here? What are you trying to trap with Pursuit? Like, I mean, Starmie, right? But, like, doesn't it just outspeed you and click Surf or click Hydro Pump? Yeah. The Houndoom pick doesn't make a lot of sense to me for Pimmel. I see the meta and the Regice on the other side, so maybe that's the thought process. Hey, Kingu doesn't really have a special wall other than the Regice, which Houndoom beats. I don't know. Could just go Spadef, Rest Talk, Zapdos if you're really, truly worried about it. The Houndoom pick does not excite me, but who knows? Okay, so Manchild as it sits, like I said, I feel is really getting porked in this matchup and needs to make some changes here, needs to make some adjustments. So he's got the double pick. How does he want to address his current situation? Gonna go with Vaporeon and Dugtrio. Uh, I don't I don't think this is it. I promise to keep the Dugtrio rant brief. I won't do it every video. I just won't. It's exhausting even for me. I'm sure it's even more exhausting for you to listen to. Just be objective. Just be calm. I won't even rant, guys. I'm talking to you very calmly. Just seriously, look at 48's team. What does the Dugtrio do? What does it trap? Like, it will do dick all against the Scarm. It doesn't beat Gar. It can threaten Moltres with Rock Slide, but it doesn't trap it. And if it's locked on anything other than Rock Slide, it's not good. It can trap Armaldo, but it doesn't one-hit KO Armaldo, so, like, who cares? And then I guess it kind of sort of traps Medicham, but, like, after Medicham already killed something, or if Medicham isn't behind a sub, or doesn't have a reversal set, or a Salic set, or whatever, yeah, I don't think the Dugtrio is good here again. Feel free to let me know, and Vaporeon and Celebi can both baton pass to it, so there's that, but I'm not seeing the merit to the Dugtrio pick. Maybe you guys see something that I don't. Let me know. The Vaporeon is perhaps a necessary evil. I mean, the Moltres and the Armaldo are both weak to water, and currently for 48, there is no water resist, so maybe the Vaporeon is a good pick. I'm still worried about what switches into things. The problem that I'm having here from Manchild's end is I was already saying, okay, what switches into Medicham, what switches into Moltres, what switches into Gengar, and even though Manchild just had a double pick, I don't feel like he really addressed that. Is Dugtrio switching into Medicham? Is Vaporeon now switching into Medicham? Like, imagine that you go Vaporeon, even full health, even bold Vaporeon, and Medicham just clicks Substitute. What do you do now? A Focus Punch is coming. What do you do now if you're Manchild? The set is just Substitute, Focus Punch, Shadow Ball, X. What do you do if you're Manchild when you go to Vaporeon and Medicham clicks Sub? What's the plan? There isn't one. You just get smacked in the face. I'm just not seeing the answers. And, like, Vaporeon on paper switches into Moltres, but, like, it just clicks Will-O-Wisp. It just clicks Toxic. And that's without the fact that it could just have HP Grass. But, like, what about just Toxic? What is the plan then? It probably will have Will-O-Wisp rather than Toxic because of the lax, but, like, same concept. It just burns you. Now what? I'm just not seeing it. I'm just not seeing it. I don't think that these double picks are going to address the problem. I still, for sure, favor 48's end of that matchup. Swinging it back over to the green team. Pimmelbude, Damflame, 48 with the triple pick. Like so. Gyarados. Umbreon, which I like. And Sceptile. Okay, the Gyarados. I don't know about all that. I like me some Gyarados, but he's picking Gyarados into Zapdos. Kind of the first red flag. And it's not like it's just the Zapdos, because, like, if it were Zapdos and then a bunch of dudes that are weak to Gyarados, you could maybe get cute with it. You could have T-Wave Gyara to get the Zapdos, so you could have HP Rock Gyara, Double Edge Gyara, that's fine, but, like, Starmie very well may carry T-Bolt. Regice is almost certainly going to carry T-Bolt. Charizard, if it decides that it cares, can have Rock Slide or HP Electric. Metagross could have Thunder Punch, or just survive your EQ and boom on you. Also, Intimidate is pretty garbaggio in this matchup. Normally, I like Intimidate a lot as an ability, and I think it's really, really good, but I like it against the Medichams and Heracrosses of the world. I don't really like it into this lineup. It does nothing. The only physical mon is Metagross, and it's got Clear Body, so Intimidate is really wasted in this matchup. So yeah, the Gyarados when the Intimidate doesn't really matter, and there's Zapdos specifically, and multiple Thunderbolt users on the other side. I don't like the pick. The last two picks for Pimmel have not done it for me. Yeah, not into the Gyra there. And again, there might be a defensive element. I don't want to pass it back. It's one of the best Pokemon remaining. Maybe, maybe not. I don't even think I would bring the Gyra if I were in Pimmel's shoes. The Umbreon here, necessary evil. Right now, he's so porked by that Alakazam. You've got to address it. So there you go. Umbreon is going to be the answer, especially when Houndoom is no longer an option. So he has both picked up his special wall and wish support, and also an Alakazam answer. It's exactly what he needed. I agree with the Umbreon pick for sure. Sceptile. Well, how's that Lax doing over there? Pretty sure every single one of these Mons from 48 has play against the Lax. You sure you want to be picking that Pokemon in the first round? I recommend against it. Also, we just picked up a fast grass attacker that is a threat to Claydol, is a threat to Vaporeon, is not easily one-hit KO'd by Dugtrio, but basically always one-hit KOs it back. This matchup feels like a stomp. I don't want it to be because it's the battle of the 3-0s, but really prefer 48's end of this matchup as we sit. Wrapping up this round of picks, before we go into the final round, the final back and forth, it's going to be Kingu with Dragonite, and then it's going to be Vaz with Heracross. Yeah, the Dragonite is just a generally good Pokemon. I don't know that I love adding a fourth rock weakness here. Now, when your team has the T-Tar and the Aerodactyl, you are way more easily able to get away with things like that. But I still think there's room for Pimmel to make a splash and, take a Rhydon or something like that that can really abuse the now 4 rock weaknesses for Kingu. Also, I think that I don't know, it's not bad, but I don't see like a specific reason to take Dragonite here. It just feels like taking a good poke for the sake of taking a good poke. It's always good. I mean, you can customize it here, but because of the hidden power conundrum that we discussed before, and now you basically, it's not hidden power, but you want Thunderbolt against Gyra, you want Flamethrower against Fori, you want HP Grass against Swampert. Dragonite could have all of those things, but eventually it's going to run out of spots. It can't have everything. But we'll see. I don't hate the pick. Dragonite's a good mon. It just I don't see a specific reason to take it against this squad, but he'll customize it and make it work. As far as Heracross in the middle here, why not? Kind of a weird pick into Salamence, but other than the Salamence, I don't really see an answer. It kicks the crap out of the rest of these Pokemon. Super effective damage against the Cloyster, against the Umbreon. Megahorn, huge threat against Flygon, Yama, Milotic. It's really just the Mence on the other side, and he's got all these other tools that can paralyze the Mence, Toxic the Mence, Ice Beam the Mence, whatever the case may be. I could see the Heracross being a big threat in that matchup, so I'm down with that pick, especially when it's your side that already has the Dugtrio as protection. That kind of takes me back to the I think Wheezing should have been taken thing from earlier. It kind of exasperates that. I already liked Wheezing, but now I think that there's even more reason that the green team on the right should definitely take it, whether it's against Lax or whether it's against Terra. Wheezing should definitely get snatched up by that team, but we'll see how we proceed. We move over here to 2B and work our way to the left as we go through this final back and forth before we complete our draft. It's going to be Blaziken, the Kickin' Chicken, and Tauros, the Angry Bull. So this Blaziken is getting taken into the T-Tar Blissey Registeel matchup. Also, it deals super effective damage to Heracross. The Blaziken, it's good here. It's interesting. I don't know if Blaziken and Hariyama are going to coexist on the team, but I could totally see bringing double fighter here, given what's on the other side. Not sure what gets cut. It feels like with Damflame's team that he kind of needs everything for various. I mean, honestly, even though his opponent hasn't even bothered picking a spinner yet, I kind of think I would just cut the stupid Cloyster. That feels weird to say, but I don't think you need spikes to win. I think that the Cloyster is going to have a super difficult time finding opportunities. I think the T-Tar, the Arrow, the Heracross, the Zam, and potentially even the stupid Blissey are all threats to the Cloyster. And when you have things that hit as hard as Blaziken especially, but also potentially as Hariyama, as Salamence, what have you, I don't think you need spikes to win. I really don't. So I think I would not bring the Cloyster, honestly, if I'm Damflame. And maybe that's the squad. Maybe the 8th poke doesn't matter. Maybe you cut the Cloyster. Maybe the 6 for Damflame is just Mence, Milo, Yama, Flygon, Umbreon, Blaziken. I think that would be reasonable, and I think he would have a shot if he just rolled with those 6. The Tauros here, that is into Manchild. Yeah, there's not a normal resist in sight over here, so right now that is CB Tauros, and that is on the team, and it is on you, Manchild, to figure out a normal resist, and you are now forced to run it whether you wanted to or not, because the Tauros right now, unless you draft one, is going to be there. So see who Manchild elects, Steelix or Regirock or something to address that Tauros issue. So swinging back over to the purple team with the triple pick here. They are going to go with lots of physical defense this round of picks. Triple physical defense, more or less. They will go with Steelix, Weezing, Regirock. Steelix in this matchup doesn't excite me at all. Good against Jolteon, not much else. Does not beat Gyarados 1v1. Definitely does not beat Houndoom 1v1. Has to be afraid of Earthquakes from Swampert. Can be put to sleep. Can be seeded. Can be HP fired from the Venusaur. The Steelix doesn't do a damn thing in my mind other than be reasonably good against the Jolteon. Again, is there a defensive element to this pick? After all, your team does have the Zapdos and the Aerodactyl. If you're just taking this as a pick for protection to help yourself and your teammates, fine. As far as actually playing the Steelix, no bueno. I would not. Weezing, sure. I mean, I wanted him to take it earlier. All's well that ends well. He's got it now. He's protecting his own Heracross. He's protecting his teammates' Snorlax. As far as do you bring the Weezing? Probably. The Blaziken made the Weezing less good because obviously you could just Fire Blast it and Weezing isn't going to like that one bit. But against Flygon, that is more or less strictly physical. It's going to shut that off all day, all night. Same thing, going to shut off the Yama. Going to be a pain in the butt for Umbreon, especially if you go with speed and you go with a Taunt set. Taunt is going to pretty much make Umbreon do little to nothing. And then Weezing is a pain for Mence as well. Still think it's good in this matchup. Have thought that all along. Still think that. He got it really, really late, and I think there's a very real possibility that the Weezing makes the team. And the Regirock here is just a direct response to what was already shown, and it's not even a great response because it doesn't switch well into the double Will-O-Wisp user. It does not switch well into Medicham, into Sceptile, into Skarmory, but he didn't have a normal resist, so he was forced to take one. There you go. Kind of sort of checks the Tauros, but boy, does it not check these core threats that, in my mind, Manchild simply has not addressed this whole damn time. All right, a double pick. Going to be the final picks here for Pimmel. His draft will be over. He's going to conclude things for himself with Porygon 2 and Entei. Not sure what the P2 does in this matchup. Normally when you take P2, you're trying to use the trace ability. You take it against things like Jolteon, Flygon, Dugtrio, Claydol. He's not taking it into any of those things. I'm not clear. I mean, Bolt Beam has like some desirable traits in this matchup, but the Porygon 2 would be completely shut off by the Regice on the other side. And I also don't know that the Porygon 2 switches in all that well to Zapdos Thunderbolt, Starmie Hydro Pumps, Regice Ice Beams, Charizard Fire Blasts. I don't think the Porygon 2 is that great in this matchup, and I don't know that it'll get played. And then as far as the Entei, I don't know. Kind of redundant with Houndoom. I didn't really like the Houndoom. I don't really like the Entei, and I also don't know how believable it is that you're gonna bring both of those. Kind of feels like a wasted pick. Like if you just want a fire attacker, just bring the Houndoom. You don't need the Entei. It's probably just one or the other. I don't think you're ever gonna bring both. And all the problems that the Houndoom had, the Entei largely has as well. Fire, I guess, got a little bit more desirable because he picked up the Steelix, but I don't know, still not overly impressed by that into the Zapdos, into the Dragonite, into the Zard, into the Starmie. To be honest with you, I'm pretty underwhelmed with Pimmel's draft as a whole. Like the first two picks were easy enough, and like the Jolteon was fine, but like everything after that was just kind of, I don't really get it. Just kind of, it lacks cohesion. It doesn't stand out to me as making a ton of sense into the things that Kingu took. Not that I think Kingu's draft is perfect either, but I don't know. Pimmel's draft, even though it has like a bunch of like Mons that are good on their own, I don't know. It kind of looks like a mess. I mean, he could throw it together and make some kind of potpourri here. I guess you cut like I don't know, let's just say the Entei and the P2 don't make it. So Swampert, Fori, Jolteon, Venusaur, Houndoom, Gyarados. Not like the world's worst team, but doesn't really gel. And I don't know that it really has the answers to some of the threats on the other side. I'm underwhelmed with Pimmel's drafts and with a lot of his later picks. So, I mean, we'll get to predictions after, but I think I like Kingu's position in that matchup. But why don't we finish up the draft before we go over all that stuff? So triple pick for purple on the left. It's going to be Crobat, Blastoise, and then also Machamp. Okay. Crobat, huh? Sure. I mean, I guess like the flying and poison dual typing threatens like Metacham and Sceptile. I guess. I mean, you just picked Crobat. Man, I was gonna say Chromat, which is a magic card. But you picked Crobat into Skarmory, which, like, yeah, you can have Taunt or something, but you're never breaking through it. I don't know why Magneton was never picked in this matchup. I would have tried to make the Skarmory think twice, but Crobat into Skarm, it doesn't excite me. I don't even really like Crobat into, like, Armaldo, but Crobat into Skarm is... I'm real skeptical of how that'll work, but I guess we'll see. Vaz is just going to pick up a bulky water because he didn't have one before. He's also going to pick up a spinner because he didn't have one before. Blastoise feels like a perfect Gloomon for him. No objection to that pick at all. And then the Machamp, sure. I mean, Venusaur, Gyarados, both fighting resist, but I guess it's okay otherwise. I'm not clear what fighting weakness he's trying to hit. I'm not clear what made him decide. I mean, it's just the Porygon 2 and the Houndoom, but like, I don't know what made him decide that he wanted a fighter here. I feel like there's probably something else that would do it for him more. I don't really know what the Machamp accomplishes in this matchup. And I mean, I guess Zapdos, Starmie, Regis all can potentially T-Wave support it. So if you're trying to go that way, I guess that's an option. Not sure that the Machamp will ultimately end up getting played. And then the final two picks of this draft are Skizor, and no, that's not how you pronounce it, and Dusclops. As far as the Scizor, it's another bug attacker, so yet another super effective attack against Celebi and Claydol. Yet another thing that Crobat isn't going to do much to. And did I mention the Snorlax? Scizor resists normal, I do believe. Yeah, we'll get to predictions in a minute. Dusclops in this middle matchup, I mean, you can bluff at it. I don't think that this is going to be a matchup that comes down to playing the Protect My Spikes game. I don't think that's the way this is going to go, but if Damflame wants to represent that he's dead serious about bringing the Cloyster, he's going to cut the Blaziken, he's going to cut one of the other offensive Mons, he's going to build a dedicated stall team that's going to include the Cloyster and the Dusclops. So whatever, he's going to cut, I don't know, I don't know what the other Mon would be, but some kind of Umbreon, Dusclops, Cloyster, Milotic, Yama, X. Pick a dragon to get rid of. Some kind of dedicated stall team for Damflame. I don't think he's going to do that, and if he does do that, I don't think it's going to work. So I think this is just a bluff. I think it just gives Vaz something to think about in the builder. But I guess there is a world where he tries to go the stallish route, and we'll see where that takes him. Dusclops should be reasonably good at stopping Blastoise's attempts to rapid spin if we go down that rabbit hole. So, predictions. Unfortunately, I think two of these matchups are kind of one-sided. There's only one of them that truly excites me. My tone has not changed on this A matchup at all throughout the draft between Manchild and 48. I definitely prefer 48's end of it. Now, granted, his team is kind of a mess. He doesn't have a special wall. Not that Manchild took advantage of that. Kind of lacking cohesion. I don't know that 48's overall team is good. I think somewhere along the line he needed some kind of special wall. But yeah, the lax seems absolutely terrible for Manchild, and I don't think he should bring it. The Dugtrio, I mean, I guess it can revenge kill the Tauros, but the Dugtrio doesn't excite me. The Crobat into the Skarm doesn't excite me. I'm not clear why Manchild doesn't grab Magneton, but I sure as hell would have if I were in his seat. The Raikou could be a threat, and that is probably the best bet to win the game if you're Manchild, because 48 does not have good answers to the Raikou. So if Manchild is to win, I think it will absolutely revolve around this Raikou. I think whether he passes a sub to it with Vaporeon, or whether he paralyzes something with Regirock and then capitalizes on full powers to get the Raikou going, I think if Manchild is to win this match, it will revolve around Raikou. That's the one saving grace. If the Raikou is behind a sub, if the Raikou gets a Calm Mind or two, 48 has absolutely nothing that's going to stop it. So, Raikou or bust for Manchild, but I think the overall better matchup belongs to 48. I think the Lax is going to be bad. I think the Dugtrio is going to be bad. I think the Crobat's going to be bad, and he has to run at least one of those no matter what. The saving grace, like I said, is the Raikou. So I'm going to predict 48 to win the match, but Raikou could win the day for Manchild, admittedly, because 48 really truly didn't address that and didn't grab a special wall, and that could end up being an issue. I'm actually going to skip the B matchup for now because that's the most interesting one to me. So going over to Kingu and Pimmel, same thing. My overall opinion didn't really change. I liked Kingu for most of this, and nothing that Pimmel did changed that for me. I'm going to predict Kingu to win this matchup. The picks for Pimmel after like the Jolteon didn't make a lot of sense to me. Didn't impress me, kind of underwhelmed me. The Mons that he took aren't bad. The overall team that he ended up with isn't awful, but it's just a collection of good Mons thrown together rather than a cohesive team that makes sense. And furthermore, we didn't even really talk about this, but I think Pimmel also just lacks win conditions. Gyarados could be a win condition, but it's not going to be given the Zapdos and the amount of Thunderbolt users on the other side. And Entei can also kind of sort of be a win condition, but it's not enough. And same shit, Starmie on the other side, DD, Earthquake, Dragonite on the other side, Charizard that could potentially also have Earthquake on the other side, Zapdos that can wall Entei well enough. I don't know that Pimmel has enough ways to get it done. Not to mention the Starmie, given the way the matchup has now shaped up, is going to very reliably be able to rapid spin. There's really nothing on the other side that could stop that. You could switch Jolteon into Starmie or something. Even that, it carries risk. But if the Starmie decides it's safe to click rapid spin, he's probably right. Pimmel can't really do a lot to punish that. I'm going to give the edge in that matchup to Kingu. I feel pretty good about 48. I feel pretty good about Kingu. The matchup that I'm not so sure about, and the one that I think is closest, at least on paper, is this B matchup between Vaz and Damflame. Damflame has a couple of distinctive and different ways that he could build this team. He could go a very aggressive route with Mance, Yama, Blaziken, cut the Dusclops, cut the Cloyster, and just go more aggro-focused, which is probably the route that I prefer. But he could also go a stallier way by employing the Cloyster and the Dusclops, cutting the Blaziken and something else, and trying to go more in that direction. I mean, honestly, this is weird, and I don't know if I've ever made the suggestion in my life, but there's a world where the Milo actually gets cut for Damflame. It's like good-ish against the rocks, but it's not amazing, and it's not great against a lot of this other stuff. Registeel can sit on it, Milo can sit on it, Alakazam threatens it, Heracross threatens it. Milo doesn't beat Blastoise. It doesn't really do a lot to Weezing. I don't know. I could see a world where the Milo actually ends up getting cut, and I don't feel super strongly about that, but it's not amazing in the matchup. If I'm Damflame, I would go the more aggro way rather than the stall way, but I do think there's a lot of wacky combinations of how he could build his team, and it's very easy for Vaz, whether he's building for himself or whether his teammates are building for him. It's very easy for whoever is building in Vaz's seat, I think, to fuck this up in the builder. So Damflame does have that on his side, and I do think that his overall team is reasonably good. But, I mean, it's so hard, like, looking at the other side. T-Tar Arrow is always just such a threat, and yes, there are two rock resists on the other side, but it's never as simple as that. I mean, one of the rock resists is Hariyama, which can come into HP Flying or Double Edge or whatever from the Aerodactyl. It's safer against the T-Tar, so there's that, but it's never perfect. It's never guaranteed. The Umbreon pick was absolutely essential for Damflame. No matter what variant of the team he goes with, he must bring the Umbreon because of the Alakazam on the other side. But other than the Umbreon, the Alakazam is a huge, huge threat. It would be interesting now if Vaz, knowing that Damflame absolutely must bring this Umbreon, if Vaz now decides to not bring the Alakazam, which I do honestly think is a viable option because the Umbreon is mandatory for Damflame. So you could cut the Alakazam and I think build it a different way and make the Umbreon a lot less exciting from Damflame's seat. I can see going that way. And then, yeah, I mean, Vaz just has a lot of threats. I mean, threats that Damflame on paper can answer, but T-Tar is a threat, Arrow is a threat, Alakazam is a threat, Heracross is a threat. Damflame on paper has the answer to those things, but threats are just better than answers as in general. There's no wrong threat, only wrong answers, and one crit, one bad prediction, what have you, and the game can just very quickly get out of control. So I really don't know in this matchup. This one is intriguing to me, but kind of the same criticism, I guess, that I had of Pimmel's draft, not the lack of cohesion so much, but one of the things that I worry about with Damflame is his ability to actually win the game. I think that might be an issue. I think this Blastoise pick was actually really huge for Vaz, and I think the Blastoise should make the cut. I think it really changes the matchup. I think that the best bet for winning, don't confuse winning with not losing, but I think the best bet for winning with Damflame before was either the Salamence or the Blaziken. I think those were his two best win conditions, but I think that the Blastoise is pretty good against both of those. I think that a strictly defensive Blastoise with whatever, Surf, Ice Beam, Rapid Spin X, where X is Refresh or Protect or whatever you want it to be, I think makes it much harder to win with the Salamence and with the Blaziken. So I think that was a crucial pickup. I also think the Weezing can be reasonably good against both the Salamence and the Blaziken. So kind of in the same vein as with Pimmel, I feel like Damflame, even though his team does a lot of good things on paper, I kind of worry that he also might have a hard time actually winning. So that was kind of long-winded. That B matchup is the one that I am most conflicted about, but if I must give a prediction, I will say that Vaz is going to win that matchup. So to recap, as we cut off this video that I think ran longer than I intended for it to, I've got 48 over Manchild, but Vaz and Kingu over Damflame and Pimmel, respectively, for a 2-1 purple victory in this draft. Do you guys agree with my assessment? Do you think I am totally stupid and wrong? Happy to hear your thoughts in the comments as always, and I hope you guys enjoy this format and this tournament as a whole. Lots more CALLOUS Draft League to come in future videos. Stay tuned, and thank you for watching.